Hi everyone, and today I want to talk about the dead zones. What is dead zone and how can you prevent it and what is the consequence of dead zones? And I found this in article is very interesting. And in the United States, we have the understanding of dead zones because we have knowledge, like we know what the consequence, like why it happens. But in many parts of the world, many other countries, the people do not have those knowledge, and the government is not funding for research. And when the population do not have that kind of knowledge, and they don't know. And in the United States, mostly you clean the water, you filter the water, the wastewater before you dump it into the river. I don't say it's 100% they're doing that, but major of the time they do that. In many part of Asian countries, in many part of the people, or other countries in our in our world, they do not doing that. Some people like they just dump some bad chemical into the river, and that can cause problems. And also waste, whether human waste, animal waste, into the rivers, and it causing that zone, and they kill all life form in that areas because when plants are growing, there no sunlight get into the water and no oxygen. I mean, less oxygen, and it causes a lot of problems because no fish, no shrimp means seafood get more expensive. At the same time, when those chemical, the fertilizer, those waste get into the water, and if humans using it, drink it, it causes cancer. It get people can get sick. At the same time, if some animals, some fish, they can survive in that water. And if we don't know it, we catch it, we eat it. The fish live in that water also can cause harm to our body, can cause disease, cancer. If another condition is because they are like they are animal killed in that areas, I mean wildlife killed in that area, like shrimp, for example, fish. It's like a food chain. The fish eats shrimp, it no shrimp, the fish had to go somewhere. So when there's less shrimp, less fish, the, the price of seafood they go up, and the fishermen had to go somewhere to find fish, and it costs more. So everything is bad for the economies, for people in general, for health, and for wildlife because wildlife need to part of the food chain too. And this article is very interesting. It's called Mississippi River's Dead Zones. It's side of New Jersey. It's so on. New Jersey is a large state, one of the large states too. Eutrophication is a process that allows for the intended development of plants like as algae and phytoplankton. Dead zones in bodies of water often result in fish kills or the absence of life form that are typically present in that areas. The size of the Mississippi River dead zones fluctuates, typically up to 5,400 square miles. The Mississippi River is known as one of the most important rivers in the United States. It has been used for transporting goods, generating electric powers, and contributing fresh water to cities like New Orleans, like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and more. Unfortunately, the river is river mighty flow bring more than water to the river mouth. Today we're going to take a look at the Mississippi River dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico to show you what caused it and how large it grew. At the time, this dead zone grew larger than the entire state of New Jersey. Let's dive into more detail. So what is dead zones? Look at this picture. You see a lot of a lot of maybe seaweeds that grow in the bottom uh, of the rivers, the ocean. The term dead zones refer to the hypoxic area in a body of water. Hypoxic area frequently develop in place where excessive nutrition and sediment enter the water. When greater than normal amounts of phosphorus and nitrogen flow into the water, the area becomes eutrophic. Eutrophication is a process that allows for the internal of plant life, such as algae and phytoplankton. Large algal blooms limit the amount of oxygen available to the organism below the water surface, while also reducing the amount of sunlight that filters through. Eutrophication leads to a low level of dissolved oxygen in the water, which makes it difficult for life to exist. Marine life needs oxygen to survive, so hypoxic condition can prevent life from flourishing in certain waters. Keep in mind that marine life is part of a food chain. I say everything in the ocean is part of food chain. But a significant portion of that chain cannot thrive in certain waters, the remaining sea life will move away to area where they can find nourishment. That zone in body of water often result in fish kills or the absence of life form that are typically present in the area. That zones are not constant, though they can fluctuate in size throughout the year. The process that lead to the development of dead zone do not occur all the time. What caused the Mississippi River dead zones? Here is the cause. The Mississippi River dead zone is caused by fertilizer runoffs, commercial farming, sewage, and more. Mississippi River is massive. It drains from portion of over 30 states, running through urban areas and farmlands allies. Eventually, everything that gets put into the river and its tributaries along the sediment typically carried by the river reach the Gulf of Mexico. To be clear, the dead zone has more specific cause and impact on red part of the water columns in the Gulf of Mexico. However, the simplest way to look at cause is to identify the products in the water. Fertilizer runoff from farmland and private home is particularly harmful since it allows massive amount of phosphorus and nitrogen to enter the rivers and eventually the Gulf of Mexico. Once there, it leads to the eutrophication of the coastal water. Atchafalaya and Mississippi rivers deltas are the most significant affected area of it. But of course, the main concern is the enormous output of Mississippi. Like other dead zones, the eutrophication of this water reduced the biomass in the area. Over 70% of the United States shrimp and 60% of the country oyster are harvested in the Gulf of Mexico. Thus, the impact of that zone has the potential to be significant. How large is the Mississippi River dead zone? The size of the Mississippi River dead zone fluctuates, but it but it's typically up to 5,400 square miles. In the past, the dead zone has reached the size of New Jersey. The dead zone in 2017 measured 8,776 square miles, compared with New Jersey 8,723 square miles. As we said before, the Mississippi River dead zone is not permanent. The dead zone's size fluctuates throughout the year based on what is being put in the water. For example, most farmers and dumping fertilizer on their land in the winter. During that time of year, the dead zone will shrink. However, in 2017, measurement was the largest on record, and the fall in the line with consistent increase in the size of the dead zone. As the size of the dead zone increase, so that's the number and severity of problem associated with it. The impact of ghost or mystical dead zones, big impact. Why does it even matter that there's a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico? Well, the cost of the dead zones are impactful to human as well as wildlife. For one thing, the measured amount of nitrate that flow into the Mississippi River waters and later cause algal blooms have apparently been linked to a higher incidence of cancer in humans. Remember, the Mississippi River is an important source of drinking waters for millions. Further, the dead zone itself can outright kill creatures that are not great swimmers like oyster. Low oxygen level with the water also forces marine animals out of their typical living area, upsetting the food chain. Or if you want to look at this as an economic matter, the dead zone can increase the price of seafood goods across the board. Fishermen will need to travel further to reach the areas where fish have been forced to move. Fewer fish will be available and coastal fishermen will suffer. All this can increase the cost of obtaining seafood. So now going to talk about fixing the Mississippi dead zones. Fortunately, just as human interaction have caused harm in this case, they can also provide a solution. Human can solve Mississippi River's dead zones in several ways, including encouraging farmers and homeowners to use less fertilizer, changing when they apply the fertilizer so it doesn't coincide with time of flooding and rains. What that means is do not use fertilizer when it's raining. Working to improve septic systems and sewage treatment plants to reduce the impact on surface water. Create new process to control the amount of animal waste that seeps into the waterways. Each of these processes can help limit the amount of pollution that flow into the Mississippi and Atchafalaya rivers. Changing them can reduce the size of the dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico. Dead zones stemming from the Mississippi and Atchafalaya rivers is serious concern. The size of the hypoxic area continue to break site records. State that both the river are coming up with new plans to solve problem. However, solving this problem is going to require significant study and change. In other words, it may be years before meaningful, consistent decrease in the dead zone size are seen. Dead zone is, to sum up, dead zone is very bad for economics, for people. It can cause cancer. It kills shrimp, oyster. At the same time, it causes seafood price to go up, and the fishermen will be suffer because they will need to go somewhere else to find fish or shrimp. And to conclude, if you are farmers or homeowners, you're not using fertilizer or overuse fertilizer, you can use other methods to grow your plant, your vegetable. Maybe you build up your own better soil, build a better soil by composting. And there are many ways that you can do it. One example that I always do is collect the fall leaf and pile it up. When it break down, that leaf turn into a black gold. It's become uh, like a, a soil that full of nutrition and food. It's a living soil that what I call living soil, and you can grow your plant, your fruit tree there. When I do gardening, I don't use fertilizer. I try to build my own compost, build my own fertilizer. Against that, we need to work together to limit the impacts of runoff, fertilizer runoff, pollution, water pollution that into the rivers, so that our river will be cleaner and our wildlife will be more happier because we will have clean waters. Wildlife will be abundant, which means we have abundance of seafood for us. At the same time, we live longer because we eat healthy seafood. We live in the healthy waters. At the same time, it will not cause cancer. So we need to drink water. And if the water is not clean, the water have problem, the food that we eat in that water also causing problem for us. Can get sick. That's the end. Thank you.